Good afternoon. This is Sanjiv Dodhia from Action Coach. I'm really pleased to welcome to our Business Spotlight interview series, Michael Krajewski. Have I pronounced that correctly?
Yeah, almost, but yeah, that'll do. Good
Okay,
afternoon, everyone.
Michael, welcome and thank you for your time. Would you like to start by just giving us a bit of background, who you are, or what you do, how you came to do it, and which market and customers you serve?
Yep, well, I run a steel fabrication company in London. I'm educated as an aeronautical engineer, and sort of my career was, my plan was totally different because I wanted to join the army, but because of my dual nationality at birth, I was born in South Africa with my parents being Polish. I was not allowed to join the army, so I had to find myself a plan B. And I stumbled across an industry that was just begging for someone to innovate it and revolutionize it. And that became my mission for the company that I run called Steel. And I then realized that actually I was a born entrepreneur, but I didn't know about it. So I became passionate about business, and yeah, that passion remains with me till today.
Right, so that was about 13 years ago.
Yeah, it was exactly 13 years ago. Yeah, I just saw this niche you see at university, like robots and CNC machines being used, whereas suddenly I saw this the work on the steel done using very, very old techniques, just a tape measure, scribing it and manually punching, and then using a manual drill to drill holes. I'm like, come on, I mean, there must be a better way to do it. And the other side, which was also very important, was the project management side of things, where I joined quite a small company, and I just couldn't believe that actually it was the loudest shouting customer that was served, rather than us as a company having it all pre-planned and organized. So yeah, I just saw this massive opportunity, and indeed I started as a one-man band. I then learned a lot. One of the biggest things was that you have to grow continuously as a company, and indeed we grew. At one stage we had like 45 or so employees. We did have to downsize recently slightly, but yeah, we were on this nice growth trajectory, year on year, over 20% growth. So yeah, it was a very, very nice journey.
Fantastic. And tell me, what are the biggest challenges that you faced and you've overcome through that?
Well, these challenges change depending on the stage of growth. So like the first one was to actually get employees, and then this weird sensation where you actually have an employee and you have to sort of manage their time or provide the workplace for them. And there's this magical feeling where you know that in the morning they wake up knowing that they're going to come to you to work for you. So I remember that was not only a challenge, but also a wonderful feeling. Then growth. I mean, a company must grow. That's something I've learned as well. And with growth come all the challenges possible. You probably couldn't write it, the things that happen. Like even recently, we were moving units, and everything was lined up, and suddenly there's a change of ownership. So now suddenly the whole process was delayed, and yeah, there are just so many challenges. But don't get me wrong, I love these challenges. It's something that I really look forward to, and I love solving problems. So challenges are things I like doing. I hope I don't create these problems for myself to then solve. But yeah, it's definitely something that is part of the entrepreneurial journey. And I think it's very unfair to say that someone was just born lucky and they managed to grow their business easily. What we see as success, as an overnight success, is quite often done over 10 years or more. So yeah.
Overnight success, 13 years in the making.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. Sounds like key to your success was being responsive and adaptable to whatever challenges you faced.
Yeah, I guess so. Plus, looking at the service we provide from a customer's perspective. So it's always the question, or asking ourselves, what value are we adding to the customer? Are we making changes because it's easier for us, or is it more beneficial to the customer? Although having said that, it's part of a growth strategy is to productize your service, because as you know, with a service, you basically being chased around by customers and you just do whatever they ask for. Whereas if you want to grow a business, you have to have systems in place, and quite often the service you provide, you have to trim the ends, focus on the things you're best at, and then change that into a product, like have specific steps in the fulfillment process. And that's what we've done very successfully, actually. We cut out the things that sort of are standard in steel. So we got rid of site surveys at the beginning of the process and installations at the end, because those were the processes that we've realized that they are just not scalable. It's just chaos, and you can't manage chaos. Whereas from receiving the details from the customer to fulfillment and delivering to site, that's something that was easily done by ourselves, and we could really fine tune it. And yeah, we became like the leaders, and others were copying us in terms of lead time and the quality provided.
Fantastic. That's a really good insight. Is that then telling us where your key differentiator, what really makes you stand out?
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Well, like we've also trimmed on the scope of service. Like normally steel companies, they do everything. So a bit of structural steel, as you can see behind me, bit of balconies, bit of staircases, balustrades, railings, you name it, they did it. Whereas we said, no, structural steel only. And then even within structural steel, we still trimmed that. But then we are obsessed about reliability, and reliability is quite interesting because it's made out of two components which have to cross over. One is time, so being on time doesn't mean short time, but on time. And second one is quality. So in our world, if we deliver a steel very quickly, but it doesn't fit on site, that's useless. So that's not reliable. And vice versa, if we deliver something that fits, but 3 weeks late, then that's also someone would classify as an appalling service. So getting the two together is I would say our goal, and at the same time our USP, because we are known for being reliable. And the fact that we've taken this on board as our core purpose, we've built everything around it. So we wrote our own IT system to focus on reliability, and yeah, that's something we've nailed. And until this day, that continues to be our USP.
Fantastic. Really interesting. It's a kind of Gordon Ramsay approach to sorting out failing restaurants. Yeah, simplify the menu and
Yeah.
deliver predictable quality every single time.
Yeah, and I always say McDonald's are probably the ultimate example. I mean, if there was a Nobel Prize in business, I mean, I'm sure Ray Kroc should have received it. But that's what he did. On day one, he just trimmed the menu, and they just sold few items, that's it. But that allowed them to grow to over 30,000 locations globally. And I also mentioned to other business owners, like, good luck in ordering a pizza at McDonald's. They'll just tell you to go next door because they don't do pizzas. Whereas you go to a restaurant and you can ask whatever you want, like, okay, I want this from this menu, but please add this and take that away, and so on. And that is where variability limits scalability.
Great example, great analogy. Thank you. So Michael, perhaps you could share one or two of your biggest learnings in your 13 years as an entrepreneur, from kind of startup to now, really successful. What are the...
So the first one, like the most important thing that I've learned, and that was a wow moment to me, was the realization that a company should work without the owner. Now, quite often business owners start a business because they're good at something, so they build the company around them, with them being at the forefront and being the person. And I've done the same mistake. Like, no one told me this, and obviously I don't blame anyone, because it's one of those things you learn in life. And our first place was near Heathrow, and actually we're still near Heathrow, but in a different place. But it was literally under the approach to the left runway coming from the east. And every now and then I saw Virgin Atlantic coming in, and I just thought, well, Richard Branson is not a pilot on that plane. He's not a baggage handler. He doesn't sit in the tower. He doesn't manage these planes because there are too many of them scattered around the globe. And I just thought, what am I doing incorrectly? Because I mean, we know that he doesn't have like 10 heads and 20 arms and 30 legs and so on. No one mentions that his IQ is like 300 and higher than Einstein's. So I just knew that there's a secret that I haven't discovered yet. And that realization moment came later. It was actually during a networking event. Someone told me I'll read this book called The E-Myth, and I read it and I just couldn't stop. I was like just absorbing everything that was in that book, yeah, that was a pivotal point. From like 5 employees, we suddenly grew rapidly up to the 40 plus, and with me having more time for myself, which was a massive change, because I used to work 7 days a week. Sundays I used to quote, and Saturdays call customers, and so on. So yeah, that was the biggest takeaway so far in my business life. The second one, which probably wasn't a surprise to me, something I was aware of, but I see other business owners struggle with, is finance knowledge. Like, I spent a lot of time before starting the business to learn about finance. My grandfather used to teach accounting at a university, so I went for some private lessons over to him. And yeah, understanding P&Ls, cash flow statements, balance sheets, and so on. That's very, very important. When I speak sometimes to business owners, I just can't believe that they're running the show without even knowing what the numbers are. And I always say that money in a company is like oxygen for humans. We don't live to breathe, but without breathing, we can't live. So same with the business. You might have the grandest idea in the world, but if the money doesn't stack up, it will come to a brutal end. So out of that comes probably money conservatism. So we've got these policies of how much the balance between receivables, payables, how much, not even working capital, but like the safety cushion we have available immediately, instantly, and things like that. But that comes from financial education.
Really, really good share. So you escape the owner's trap, shift from doing all the jobs to being a business owner, and of course, yeah, cash flow and numbers being the language of business. Really, really very useful for our audience. So Michael, tell me, what does the future look like for you and Stilo?
Well, we obviously want to continue our growth trajectory. We're more inclined into mergers and acquisitions. The steel industry is a very mature industry. We've done whatever we could within the London landscape. And I've also learned that it's pointless growing as a company too much, because then you're making it worse both for yourself and for your competitors. So yeah, the next step will be definitely around mergers and acquisitions. My strength is in manufacturing and sort of setting the processes in. So I'd really like to step into other manufacturing companies as well, and either help them through the growth or help them sort of expand into other territories as well.
Okay, great. And what's inspiring you? What's inspiring you most now?
Well, I've once done this exercise to understand who you are as a human being. Like, leave the business alone, like it's got its own KPIs and purposes and so on, but you yourself as a human being. And there are a few points. One of them is to solve problems, which, like I mentioned, I love doing. Then there's about spending time within nature. I love the outdoors. But then the final point on it is to help achievers. And that's something I always had. I don't necessarily, I'm not the person that will help others. Like, if there's someone begging on the street, I'm not the first one to help them. But when I see someone who's ambitious, motivated, then I literally drop everything and I really want to support that person in their growth. So that's something that motivates me, both internally within the company. You can see the young, hungry employees that you can just sort of help them grow as employees into some managerial roles. But then also externally, when I see business owners, by default, most of them are ambitious and they've got this hunger to grow, and I would like to really help them exceed and learn all the things I had to learn the hard way. So,
right, leveraging your experience to help others. So yeah. What's the best advice you'd give to a 21-year-old starting out in business, or to your 21-year-old self?
Yeah, never stop being hungry in terms of education. You always have to learn. Don't think that one day there'll come a day where you've learned know everything and till the rest of your life you can just sit there with your knowledge to date. It's not only because the landscape of business is changing, it's just that there's so many more things to learn. So I wouldn't necessarily give myself that advice because that's naturally who I am. I'm very curious and I like to learn new things, but I would just reiterate the importance of that. Like if I was younger, I would say, Michael, don't forget, be educationally hungry. And yeah, obviously the same advice goes to anyone else, like always be curious because that's how you grow as a human being, and then your business also grows.
Wonderful. So, Michael, if there was one person in mind that when you think about your success, you think of them, is there anyone in mind? You mentioned
Yeah,
Mike.
yeah. It will be undoubtedly Michael Gerber, the author of the E-Myth book. And I actually had the privilege to meet him personally because I was so grateful for his work, for setting up the master's program over there with the E-Myth organization. And I sent him an email saying, look, I really want to shake your hand. Like, you've changed my life, and I would really like to say a big thank you. And indeed, we met up in Carlsbad, California, where he lives. And yeah, I had the opportunity to speak to him. But yeah, without any doubt, he's my guru that helped me in business.
I share that because we use that as a blueprint in our coaching. So fantastic. So Michael, thank you so much. That's been such an interesting conversation. If anybody wants to connect with you and get in touch, what's the best way?
LinkedIn is the best place.
Okay, amazing. Michael, thank you, and have a great afternoon.
Yep, thank you too.